If people listening to this hear only one thing today, what do you want them to take away from the show?
This is my message to men of advanced age. You do not have to accept mediocrity. You did not peak in high school, and your best years sure as hell are not behind you.
Won't waste another minute. No, I won't.
Here's the $1,000,000 question. How do men like us reach our full potential, grow into the men we dream of being, while taking care of our responsibilities, working, being good husbands, fathers, and still take care of ourselves? Well, that's the big question. In this podcast, we'll help you answer those questions and more. My name is Brent, and welcome to the Fallible Man Podcast. Welcome to the Fallible Man Podcast, your home for all things man, husband, and father. A big shout out to Fallible Nation. You guys make this possible, and a warm welcome to our first-time listeners. My name is Brent, and today my guest is fitness and mindset coach for dads, Eric Koenreich. Eric, welcome to the Fallible Man Podcast.
Thank you for having me, Brent. Very, very excited to be here.
Eric, I'm looking forward to this conversation, but we like to start things on the light end. So how's your trivia game?
Pretty good. I have a lot of useless knowledge, so
Useless knowledge, right? It's I think is a dad thing. Like just do it over time.
I love to flex on my son. I'm like, you don't know nothing about this. You don't know nothing. You're 7. You know nothing. Watch this. And he's very usually impressed. He's very rarely impressed by me, but he's impressed by that.
In our conversation before the show, you shared that you're a fellow nerdy guy like myself, so you might actually get this one right. What is the most useful die in the game of D&D? Is it a standard D6, a D10, a D20, or a D4?
I hate that you asked me this question because despite my vast nerdy knowledge, I am detached from the fantasy world. I never played D&D. I never played any tabletop games. I respect them, but there's all different types of nerds.
Yeah.
What was the last one? D4?
Mm-hmm.
D4.
All right, guys, you know the rules. Don't cheat. Don't skip ahead. We'll come back to that a little bit later. I had one for my D&D.
Couldn't be sci-fi. It couldn't be sci-fi. It had to be fantasy, man.
I just started playing D&D actually this summer.
Okay.
I'm 43 years old. I've never played before. I started doing board games once a week with some guys from my church, just kind of a guys hangout time. And they're like, well, we used to do a lot more D&D. It's like, I've never done D&D. They're like, come on, you can try it once. I was like, whatever. Okay, yeah, I'll give it a try. And my best friend's like, oh, it's about time you played. Went and bought me like custom dice. She's like, you need your own die. And it's like, these are a lot of dice, man. I don't understand this.
Yeah, it's complex. I definitely, like I said, I respect it, but I've never got into it myself. I'm more of a video game guy.
I've gone through 2 campaigns now, and it's like, okay, you know what? Mainly, like, it's a really great game to get to know people. Like, you bond really well with the people you're playing with, and really have better insight, like, into who they are. Yeah. I was really shocked. That was like this crazy side effect. I was like, totally wasn't expecting. So
I think you learn a lot about other people through any kind of board game, whether it's a role-playing game or just Monopoly or life. Sometimes you find out some things about people you maybe didn't want to know, actually. You see the bad side of people sometimes. And you know what? The whole thing about D&D and nerdy stuff in general, and I'm big on diatribes. I'm not going to go on one right now, but I cannot stand this pushback lately against video games and nerdy stuff in the personal development space where they label these things as wastes of time, it's holding you back. You cannot succeed if you play video games. Look, there's extreme cases, of course. Too much of anything is bad. But as far as I'm concerned, video games are part of my self-care routine. My wife goes to get facials. Mm-hmm. I play a PS5. Okay, you can't work 24/7. You can't work and work out 24/7 because, frankly, that's unhealthy, if you ask me. So, but anyways, I'm glad we have nerdy pursuits that can distract us from our work at times.
I broke a cardinal rule. I got in an internet fight on Instagram once.
Oh no!
Over this very topic.
Oh no! Never engage.
I usually don't, but I made a statement as to like, guys, you need to kind of put the video games aside and get in the real world. Mm-hmm. And got in this huge fight with this internet troll. I was like, look, you need to read the whole thing for context, because obviously you didn't like watch the whole clip and then read the article under it. Are you know? I'm not saying video games are bad. I'm saying every guy has to learn what his line is. I lost 3 years of my life to World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually added up the playtime of all of my tunes on World of Warcraft. 3 years of playtime. And during that time, I did nothing for my career. I didn't advance my life. I didn't write. I wasn't doing anything in the real world to make my life better. And so my argument is not that they're bad. It's like anything else. There's a moderation. You have to know what becomes a problem for you and what is still healthy fun.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you can play casually and have some fun and it doesn't interfere with the rest of your life or take away from you progressing, awesome. I go hard in almost anything I do.
Yes.
And so I get that addictive personality, and it's like I don't know how to go in a little and have fun. Like I'm in. So that's where I draw the line. It's like anything else, right? Too much alcohol is bad for you. A little bit, right? The research says a drink every so often, right, 3 times a week or something, can actually have healthy effects for you. Marijuana can have medicinal qualities. Too much use really kind of waylay your life, right? Anything is, you can take workouts to extreme too.
You could meditate. If you meditate 4 hours a day, that's a lot of time wasted, if you ask me. There's a certain extent where you are wasting time. It defeats the purpose of what you're doing. It should be restorative, right? Video games are, and for me, are restorative. Just sitting down, playing maybe 30 minutes, maybe even an hour if I get that. I get about 2 hours of gaming per week, and I cherish that time because I was not grateful enough when I didn't have kids, didn't have business back in the day, where I could spend hours. You probably understand, hours upon hours upon hours of playing these games and just unplugging. But you know what? That's what they're talking about. They don't want young men getting into that groove. Although, it never held me back per se at that time in my life, but I could see how it could be detrimental to others.
Yeah, like so. I let it. So I will be very clear. It didn't hold me back. I let it keep me from moving forward. There's a huge difference there. The game is not responsible for that. Blizzard is not responsible for my habit with it.
Right. That's everything, right? It's not the food, it's not the drugs, it's not the alcohol, it's the person. It's the person that's using them, and you got to take accountability and change at some point.
So that's okay. I enjoyed that nice little journey. But before we go too much farther, Eric. I want to call you Ken.
Close enough.
Eric, I don't do huge introductions. So before we go way down the rabbit hole today, for the sake of our audience, in your own words, today, not just a huge, but today, who is Eric Koenreich?
Eric Koenreich is a father, he's a husband, and he is a men's fitness and mindset coach. He's been through a lot, and everything he's been through, he doesn't regret one bit, because it's brought him right here, and it's given him a lot of knowledge that he can pass down. And thankfully, he is in a position where he can help others with that knowledge.
Okay. If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
That's a good one. I would like to be able to eat whatever I want and still be in great shape. I am a food lover. I love food. Don't get it twisted. Just because I'm a fitness guy doesn't mean I don't love food. I still love food. I don't like junk food anymore. And we'll get into this. I used to be a junk food blogger. I used to be obsessed with it. I don't eat refined sugar anymore. And so what I find myself lusting after is just good quality food, like a juicy burger, some pizza, not like Domino's, some New York style, some of my favorite Detroit style, things like that, some nachos from a nice Mexican place. That's what I love. And I would just love to be unburdened by the very idea of calorie intake. That would be my dream. I think it says a lot about me that I could fly, I could have super strength, I could be invulnerable, but no. I would love to just be able to try as much food from around the world and America as I can and not gain a single pound. But that's why we're here talking about balance and moderation.
I gotta admit that would be a great superpower because
It'd be sick. It'd be so fun.
I live in a place with amazing Mexican food, and it's like, oh, I really shouldn't eat that whole burrito because it's like that big.
Huge. Yeah.
But it tastes so good. It's funny because I like ice cream, but I can actually walk away from sweets. But I will do seconds and thirds of like good food.
Yeah. Ice cream is my favorite food, actually. Although I have a sneaking suspicion I've developed a lactose intolerance in my advanced age. I'm actually waiting for a test to come back. But, I don't eat ice cream regularly anyways, but it's one of those things where I love a good craft ice cream, a good high-end ice cream.
Mhm.
I've made ice cream a lot. And once again, something else we'll get into, I'm sure. But sweets, savories, it does not matter. I am an omnivore of the highest order. I love everything and anything. There's no food genre that I do not like.
I actually found a new ice cream just last night. Last night.
What was that?
Do you guys have Impaqua where you live?
No, but I'm familiar with it.
Okay. They actually have made it's called traditional lemon square.
Oh, I love lemon flavors. I love
Dude,
it.
it was a bite straight out of my childhood. I remember going to this bakery with my grandmother, getting these, artisan made custom like lemon squares that were just so good when I was a kid. I took one bite, which instantly.
Is there any graham cracker in the flavor, like the crust?
Yeah. It's actually like it's got the lemon and the topping, and
See,
it's got the bar.
I cannot stand when companies will make ice cream flavors and they'll just leave out a very important element. Like people make pumpkin pie ice creams with no graham cracker crust. I'm like, what are you doing? It's just going to taste like pumpkin. It's not going to taste like pumpkin pie. So I'm glad you got to have all the layers, all the elements included to get that lemon bar flavor.
I got it. My mom lives with us since my dad passed. And I was like, oh, Mom, you got to try this. And she took one bite and it was just like, like you could just see it in that pure pleasure.
Nailed it. Yes.
Total surprise. So I took my kids. I try and spend about one night a week just with my kids, where it's just their time. And so we'll go get a snack of some kind of unhealthy nature and do something or play games or watch a movie or whatever. And last night we got some ice cream and watched movies, and it was like they just killed that one.
That's it. That's the life right there.
Eric, if you could learn and master any skill instantly, what would it be and why?
Patience. Because anybody out there who has kids, especially kids under 10 years old, you understand how important patience is and how hard it is to have patience in these moments, especially for those of you out there like myself who have multiple children. I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a soon-to-be 2-year-old. And many times when my wife is out, she takes business trips a lot, leaves me, abandons me for 3 or 4 days at a time. I take a lot of pride in my ability as a dad. And, one of the things I liked about your message is that we are not just mere spectators. I hate when, you got all the kids, you're babysitting. I go, no, I'm not babysitting. This is what I do, because I'm a stay-at-home dad and I spend the majority of the time with the kids while my wife works. That's what I do. I work from home too, but my work blocks are shorter. So I spend a lot of time with these guys, and summer was rough. Summer was rough because, as you all know, the summer programs can be really expensive. So we can only pick and choose what they do, and the times and the ages don't always line up. So a lot of days was just me and those three, and they are at each other's throats, and then they're at my throat, and then I'm at their throats. So it's not like, it's not all lovey-dovey all the time. I don't think anybody who doesn't have multiple kids, especially at this age, really understands how chaotic it gets and how hard it is. And that feeling of helplessness can be very overwhelming because you just want them to listen to you. It's not that easy. You wish everybody's like, why don't you just discipline them? I'm like, all right, dude. You don't know. You don't know the struggle. So I've gotten a lot better. And my dad was an amazing influence on me, an incredible role model. But he had a major character flaw that he passed down to me, as parents usually do. My temper is a little short. And so I tend to blow my stack a little more than I would like. So if I could have one skill mastered right now, just Zen like, it's just the ability to see them break things in my house and just do completely belligerent acts to each other and just be like, it's okay. Let's just talk about that. Let's just, let's talk about our feelings right now. Why did you do that? I want to know your rationale behind that decision. That would make my life a little bit easier, and probably my blood pressure would lower a few points.
You're 2 steps ahead of the fact that you know that about yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
You gone, you know what? This is the one thing I think my dad could have done better. And you're not criticizing him as a dad. You're not going, you suck. No, it's, hey, he was great. I think this could have worked better. And I see this in my life and I want to do this better. Right.
Mm-hmm.
We have so many people out there. It drives me insane. And I think every generation does it. But they get to a certain point in their life where, like, my parents were wrong about all this, or my parents had no clue what they were doing. And just like, they blame failures on their parents.
Right.
And it's like, well, you were there, man. You saw what was good and was not from your point of view. Now you're seeing it from the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So take some ownership on that. Your parents weren't completely out there, most likely. Now,
yeah, I think that's the hard part. Yeah, that's the hard part.
Bad.
That's the hard part about being a parent, right? Because everything that is great about your child, you're pretty much responsible for, but everything that's bad, you're also responsible for. It's a two-way street. And I will say this, and I don't want to throw the baby boomers under the bus too much because they did a lot of great things, but there's a certain trait with them as parents, and I'm speaking from experience with my parents and from my friends as fellow millennials who have baby boomer parents, that they are not the quickest to own up to their shortcomings as parents. They want, and this is ironic, they want the the participation trophy. They want, like, I got you here, you're alive, you're healthy. Like, listen, it's not an indictment. Okay. There's just a certain point where we take a step back, we reflect, and like, oh man, when I become a parent, I don't want to do that. Doesn't mean you're a bad parent. And you have to, like you said, ownership's very important. And I plan to take ownership when my son grows up to have a short fuse. I'll be like, well, hey, I didn't do that great there. I could have done that better. But at the end of the day, if that's like the worst character flaw he has, and that's my biggest concern with him, I think I would have done a pretty good job. But that's really the job of a parent, right? To mess these little humans up as little as possible on the way to adulthood.
Now, I will say on the baby boomer side of it, we're really the first generation to move to that perspective.
Mm-hmm.
As far as, like, with that, looking back, going, we need to be more introspective about our lives. And that generation, that wasn't a thought. That wasn't something they were taught. That wasn't something that was ever taught to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Their parents, if you go back a step beyond that, their parents were like, you're here, you're fed, shut up and be happy.
Get to work.
I look at my grandfather, who was out picking cotton at 5 years old all day long beside his dad. Like, all day long. We're talking 12 hours at a time, all day. His older sisters would come pick him up in the wagon because he would fall asleep walking home from picking cotton all day. And he was right there in the field next to his dad at 5 years old picking cotton. Right. So you look at the difference in our society. We're the first generation really to start having that luxury to look back and go, you could have done that better. They're just like, you know what? I was better. You should have met my parents,
Yeah. And
Uh,
I think there's something we can learn from every previous generation, and that's why I hate when, because I'm sensitive to my generation being labeled a certain way. I think that you can't group all baby boomers in a bucket, just like you can't
mhm,
group all millennials in a bucket. I'm definitely, um, I subscribe to some aspects of baby boomer parenting, a little bit of tough love. I'm not all crunchy granola woo woo stuff with my kids. I'm very practical, I'm very grounded, but I'm also sensitive to their feelings. So I think there's, once again, essential masculinity. You got to give them what they need when they need it, and you cannot let them run the show, and you have to let them know who's boss. So there's also room for communication, and there's nothing wrong with talking to your kids about their feelings. But I'm also not a rub your dirt on it kind of guy. I am like, is there blood? No? Okay, let's go. I don't want my kids to think every bump and bruise is a catastrophe. So there's a little bit of column A for my dad, a little bit of column B from me.
how old are you, out of curiosity?
I'm 41.
Okay, so you're a Gen
I'm
X.
an elder millennial. I'm actually right on the line between
You're Gen Y.
what's the Zillennial? I guess Zillennial. That's the cute little nickname they have for us. But yeah, and I understand where baby boomers are coming from, because now when I see Gen Z, I'm like, what in the hell's going on here? I'm not the
Right?
kind of guy. I will not, however, be the kind of guy who's like, oh, the music you listen to is trash. My music was the best. I might believe that. I might listen to only my music, and I listen to a lot of newer stuff, but I'm like, I don't get it. I don't really care to tell my kids that. If they want to listen to it, have at it, because I know exactly how my parents felt when I was listening to, when Blair Notorious B.I.G. and all the rap music I grew up on, and they're probably like, what the hell is this? Because it was so new, and I'm sure something new is going to come along when my kids are teenagers that I will have no understanding or really appreciation of, but they like it. It's cool with me.
I always laugh about the music because you hear the stuff is like I'm extraordinarily eclectic in my music taste. So like in
Same.
junior high, I grew up in the right area and the right era to like I listened to Nirvana when they were garage band before they hit the
Mhm.
labels. But I also like would shoot pool with my friend in his dad's basement, listening to Creedence Clearwater Revival and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi
Mhm.
Hendrix. Right. So we had that whole all the way out to like I played cello when I was younger. And so I also listen to classical music. So I have this really
Cool.
like stupidly eclectic. I'll have all this stuff in like one playlist. My wife's like, "What kind of playlist is this?" I was like, "I don't know. I got
Yeah.
I got Beethoven, I got Nirvana, I got Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
It's
I,
all
d- I, d- I definitely have ADHD, because I cannot just settle on one musical genre. Like, it's, for me, I grew up listening to a lot of Southern rock, because my dad's from Ohio and we were in Florida. So we listened to a lot of Allman Brothers, a lot of Creedence, a lot of stuff like that. Also a lot of Springsteen,
inner.
because everybody loves Bruce. Everybody loves Bruce. I love Bruce, and I didn't really appreciate Bruce until I got older. And then as I got a little, I got really into Aerosmith. I was a classic rock kid
Aerosmith.
for a while. And then I discovered rap music in about 91, 92. I started every once in a while watching Yo MTV Raps when my parents weren't looking. And then one day I was working at a grocery store. That I think a lot of people have this kind of story where it's like the cool older kid. It's like, hey man,
Mhm.
listen to this, and he handed me a tape. This wasn't the first tape he gave me. He gave me Sepultura tape first, so that was my first exposure to kind of like heavy metal, I guess, besides Metallica.
Mhm.
I wasn't really into heavy metal at that point. And but he gave me a mixtape of this group called the Wu-Tang Clan. And I was like, as a nerdy kid, I was like, well, they ninjas? What is it? He's like, yeah, they're like ninjas. I'm like, whoa. And so listening to hip hop like that, in that, getting exposed to that early on, 94ish, really changed my whole musical trajectory, and I became immersed. And and for the most part, I think hip hop music raised me. And then as I got older, I still love hip hop to this day, but I got into little, like, I guess, scene emo, stuff like
Mhm.
that, like Fall Out Boy, things like that. And everybody has this story too. If you start listening to pop punk, inevitably it leads you down the hardcore or the metalcore rabbit hole. and you turn into the guy who's wearing the studded belt, camo cargo pants, and the band tee, and that's you. And that was my uniform for like a decade. And so, Kill Switch Engage and all these bands like that. And so that the best part about, having kids, one of the best parts, sorry, don't want to trivialize it too much, is exposing them to your music and seeing which stuff they like and which stuff they gravitate towards. Like my son, he's 7 and he loves August Burns Red, which is extremely heavy for a 7-year-old.
Yes,
and
it is.
he loves Kill Switch too. But he's not really into rap, but he loves music. He really likes metal. But we play the Temptations here. I try to expose him to Motown and stuff like that, because I would like them to hear when people actually sang with actual instruments, and let them hear that. And sometimes he's got a lot of energy, so when you turn on August Burns Red, the house turns into a mosh pit. Sometimes you got to turn on some Temptations to chill things out.
Yeah, a little soothe it out just a little bit. It's like, okay, we time to wind down.
Yeah.
I actually programmed my children from like the time they were infants. So at bedtime every night, we turn on Adele 25. Like every night. My oldest is 11 now. Almost every night of her life, I turn on Adele 25, that album, at bedtime. And to the point where both my children are 11 and 9, they can be like up here, just like bouncing. I turn on Adele 25 and they're like, no, and they automatically start coming down. People were like, you programmed your children.
Yeah.
It's a concept, guys.
It's a Pavlovian response. They
Right?
associate that music with getting tired and relaxing.
Yeah, that's chill time. And
it's smart. That's smart parenting.
As a parent, it saved me a lot of headaches over the years. It's also cost me a few when we've been like traveling.
Oh yeah.
And I realized I didn't have the album on my phone. So we're like in the hotel, my wife and I are scrambling through like Amazon Music or Spotify trying to find the album. No, they can't sleep without it, So there's the loaded end of that as well.
Yeah.
Now, Eric, before we start digging in, what's one thing everybody should know about you?
It's a good question. I think above anything else, you should know that my family is the single most important thing to me, and everything I do is really for them. And there's really nothing that even comes close in my hierarchy of importance. It's just my wife, my kids, before everything else, and then everything else kind of falls underneath that.
All right. Guys, we've been getting to know Eric just a little bit in this part of the show. We wanted to let you know who he is and give you some insight into him, into why we're having this conversation. In the next part of the show, we're going to dive into dadbods and your health. We're going to roll to our sponsor, and we'll be right back with more from Eric Koenreich. Now, before we go any further, I wanted to share with you guys, I don't always tell you how much I love doing my podcast. Like, I passionately love what I'm doing. And one of the things that makes my life better as a podcaster is to work with a company like Grow Your Show. Grow Your Show is a one-stop podcast do-it-all. Now, I use Grow Your Show for my marketing, but Grow Your Show is literally a one-stop shop. You can record your episode and just drop it off with them, and they take it from there. It's amazing. If you are interested in picking up podcasting as a hobby, or maybe you're looking to expand your business and use podcasting in that aspect, talk to my friends over at Grow Your Show. Adam will take care of you. I guarantee it. I trust him. He's my friend. He's my business colleague, and I wouldn't trust anybody else with my show. Guys, welcome back. In the first part of the show, we just spent some time getting to know Eric and who he is and what he's about. This part of the show, we're going to dig into dadbods and your health. Now, Eric, let me get this out there just because it's a fascinating detail. You've been a pro wrestler, a bakery owner, a gym owner, you're a CPT, and now you're working with dads to try and help them get their health together and balance that and being a dad, right? What's been your favorite thing to do so far?
My favorite thing to do is blowing people's minds, because I think there's a lot of preconceived notions about fitness and especially nutrition and the things that you can and cannot eat. And my specialty is helping men understand that their lifestyle doesn't have to change that radically in order to improve their health. You know, you can still go out to eat with your family. You can still go on vacations with your wife. You can go on date nights. You can do these things, but it's about balance. It's about picking your spots. It's about moderation. And many people just think it's chicken and rice and broccoli day after day after day. And it's not that at all. So I think that is my favorite part, and really helping these guys, you know, overhaul their mindsets, because a lot of this process, that's why I changed from just like a fitness coach to fitness and mindset coach, because the mindset is everything. How we approach our daily life will dictate how great our results are, and oftentimes the internal reflects in the external. You know, so for a lot of people, they are always looking for the magic bullet, the quick fix, the plan that will change their life, but it is not about the how you get there. It's about the who you need to be to get there.
Oh, come on. No 30-second abs.
I wish I could say, hey, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't need to do podcasts if I could give you a 30-second fix to get in great shape. I'd be a billionaire. Yeah.
Now, Eric, how do you go from wrestler to food influencer?
Man, the trajectory of my life is so weird. Even if you go backwards, the fact that my last pivot was from junk food influencer. My Instagram was just about my life, my family, and the junk food that I liked. It was kind of a hobby of mine. Then I pivoted to fitness and mindset coach. It's very weird, but I'd love to get to that in a second. But going all the way back, when I was in high school, people asked me what I wanted to do. I told them I'm going to be a pro wrestler, and they laughed. I don't blame them. That's a wild thing to say for a 17-year-old kid, but I did it, because whenever I verbalize something out loud, when I put it, I'm not one of those guys just like, I'm going to do this, and then I fall off and hope people forget about it. Before I even say it, I've already visualized it. It's already happened. And I was going to be a pro wrestler come hell or high water. So I did that for a decade or so, got out of that, got into personal training. From personal training, I love food. And when Instagram came about, the first couple things I posted were food. And then over time, my wife and I, one of our favorite pastimes is eating. You know, I think there's a misconception about people who consider each other soulmates, and people who have happy marriages. They think they have a lot of common interests. It's not the case at all. My wife and I are very different people. She is not a nerd whatsoever. She doesn't like anything nerdy, unless you count plants and personal development, which is not that nerdy. So we bonded over food a lot of times. One of our favorite little pastimes, we'd find out about some new Pop-Tart that came out, and we'd hunt for it at all the Walmarts. You know, this is before kids, so we had all the time in the world. And so eventually people started asking me, like, hey, how does that taste? You know what? I should start reviewing these things. And then around the same time, Instagram rolled out the video feature, to many people's chagrin, but nevertheless, we've seen where that time has proven that they made the right choice. But it was 30-second videos. So I started doing fun size reviews, and I would just sit in my car. I wouldn't edit them at all. I would literally take a bite of something, and as I'm spitting crumbs out, chewing with my mouth open, talking with my mouth full, I would give the reviews of these things. Sometimes I would do it in my kitchen. And then when I had kids, my popularity skyrocketed, because I would start doing reviews with the kids, and probably guess they aren't great co-stars in terms of direction. They just kind of do their own thing, and that's the fun. They say crazy things, they do crazy things, and I had a lot of good times doing that. But eventually I grew out of it, and my kids, I think, grew out of it too. They don't want to be a captive person, and it's just not fun to eat in front of the camera. It's just fun to enjoy the food and be mindful. And so I started going on a little bit of a personal development journey, which like I said, I don't want to get into that part, because I think that's probably the most important story I have to tell today. And then I found myself not finding joy in those things anymore, and I found myself being more fulfilled by, once again, helping others. And I had done some powerlifting coaching in the past and done pretty well at that, so I got back into this. And at first it was just dads, but I don't mean to correct you. I have actually expanded my scope to non-dads as well. But my demographic, I would say, is men of an advanced age. Notice I didn't say old. Men of an advanced age. So 30-plus-year-old men who have maybe lapsed in their fitness, who maybe like to make excuses about how their life's too busy or the kids are keep too occupied. We don't buy that. We do not buy that. You have to take care of yourself. You have to hold yourself to a high standard. And that's what I do now. And I love doing it. Just being in that position where I can help others and be a leader and be a mentor and change people's lives is amazing.
And forgive me for that. I did actually know you were aware or was aware that you had moved into a fuller scope of
Yeah,
work. I knew you
I,
started with Tired
I
Dad
did.
Fitness
Yep.
and expanded from there. Uh, that name stuck out of my head with Tired Dad Fitness. Like, I know this is where you started, but I didn't know you actually expanded. So I apologize for that, guys. That's on me.
That's okay. I think a lot of people know me from that, and the name Tired Dad Fitness Club isn't really ironic. It's because so many guys will say, "Oh, I can't work out. I'm tired." I say, "Join the club, dude. We're all tired. Every one of us that has kids and jobs, we're all tired, but we have to start looking for reasons instead of finding excuses. And a lot of times, you just walk out in your house, you look around, you see those kids. That's your reason. Okay. That's the reason you do it. So you want to be healthy, so you can play with them, you can watch them grow up, and you can be a good role model. That's it.
Now, what do you think of the whole dad bod argument? Now, let me be very clear. This can be anybody, right? It's just called a dad bod, but it's generally men over 30 most of the time.
Mhm.
And I've heard, like, I think it's a load of crap. I don't think this is true, right? But you see those YouTube videos where guys go around and ask women, what do you prefer? What do you prefer? And about half the time women are like, oh, I prefer the dad bod. I like to be a little round. To me, that's an excuse. Like, women are just throwing that out there because it takes the pressure off them to be in as healthy of a shape.
Mhm.
But I don't think anything that encourages a person to be unhealthy is a good trend. What do you think about this whole dad bod trend?
I can't stand it personally. I think it's a narrative that has been pushed by the media to help keep men soft and weak and to accept the bare minimum or below the bare minimum and to stop, you know, chasing these physical goals that we set for ourselves in our 20s. Then all of a sudden, since we got older and we have kids and responsibilities, we're supposed to just sacrifice those things, sacrifice our health for those things. It's ridiculous. And I do agree with you. When I hear women say that, it smacks of insecurity to me because they don't want a man who might be desirable to other women. So they don't want to have to worry about other women looking at their man. They want a guy who's doughy, soft, doesn't take good care of himself, doesn't dress well, is unkept, because that way they have the control. They have the power. And there's nothing wrong. Listen, nobody takes this out of context. I have two daughters. I love my wife. I worship the ground she walks on. Some people might even label me a feminist, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. But here's the thing. We got to call a spade a spade. And when people say that, it's just the same thing when, guys do it with women. It's the same thing. If you're okay with your wife being a little bit heavier, a lot of times I think that's just because you are insecure and you don't want to have to worry about her cheating on you. And a lot of times you see this happen in these relationships where the man or the woman gets in really good shape, and then there's some tension because the other one doesn't get in shape, and they're worried, they're insecure about their relationship because now they're like, oh, he's gonna leave me for somebody else. It's very easy to keep each other accountable in a relationship and to hold each other to a high standard of physical fitness. But like I said, I'm good at diatribes. I can ramble for a long time. I just do not like the idea of a dad bod. I think that we are all meant to look different. We all have different muscle belly insertions, different metabolisms, different builds. I do not personally have a very aesthetic build, very classical build. I have a wide, blocky waist. I have smaller arms. I have tiny calves. My wife's calves are bigger than mine. I have no problem saying that she has crazy calf development. And you know what though? Those aren't excuses. You make the best for what you've given, and that's all you have to do. Like, you can still be lean, athletic, and fit. Doesn't matter. You don't need to look like the guy on the cover of Men's Health, the guy that works out for a living. Okay. You don't need to look like that. All right. But you need to hold yourself to a high standard. You need to take care of yourself. You need to eat right. You need to exercise. And you need to be a good role model for your kids and other men.
let me take this. Go. So let's segue this just for a second because I want to touch on something you said.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, please hear this very clearly. You're not all going to look the same in your best shape or when you're healthy. Okay. I have monster calves, and I don't have to, like, I have genetically, I don't have to work to keep muscle on my legs. My thighs and my calves, just genetically, they're usually sculpted and huge. Right. I don't have to work for that. And that's all genetics. I have really low insertions on my deltoids. And so, like, I will never have the big shoulder cap look that you see on a classic bodybuilder.
Same.
Because the insertions are lower. And so even when my shoulders get bigger, my shoulders don't look as blocky as some guys who you see, right, who have that quote unquote perfect insertion point. And guys, you need to understand, there's a lot of differences in genetics. Some guys have naturally the way the separations in their abdominal walls look, they have a 6-pack. Some people have an 8-pack. Few people actually have like almost a 9-pack. Right? It's kind of nuts when you start getting lean and you understand that design in your belly is all about the fascia. So you're not all going to look the same, and please don't think that you have to try. Taking drugs or pushing yourself harder is not going to change the natural genetics. So don't think you're all going to look that way. Understand that we're all just built differently. You can still be healthy. You're just not going to look identical to like a pro bodybuilder necessarily.
Right.
Or let's be more realistic, like the physique guys or anything.
Yeah. I mean, comparison is the thief of joy. I love that saying. I find myself saying it to myself a lot. You know, I used to be 310 pounds. And so because I lost all that weight, there's a kind of a film of loose skin. So the best I can get, and at my leanest, and I mean really drawn out, really lean, I got a 4-pack, and it's not even that pronounced. You know, there's it's just genetics and a combination of genetics and, you know, that abuse I put my body through when I was younger. So, but like I said, you can still get lean. You can still be in great cardiovascular shape by eating a good diet, exercising consistently, and holding yourself to a high standard.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to, right? We like to pretend that guys aren't as insecure as women are about the way they look.
But it might be worse.
Yeah, we might be.
Yeah. I mean, dudes will work out to impress other dudes. That's how insecure we are. Like it's like, you see how jacked that guy is? Man, you're looking jacked, bro. Like, girls don't work. That's not why girls train. You know, girls train, you know, just for themselves largely, and then sometimes some want to train to impress, you know, get a guy's attention. But dudes, I would say, in my experience, we have much more body dysmorphia on the male side than women do. I think it's funny because there's, you know, up until recent years, nobody really wanted to admit that the beauty standards for men were as unfair as they are for women. But it's true, and that's why I hate the dad bod. The dad bod is so hypocritical. Like, you want every woman to look like a swimsuit model, but you can walk around looking like a pear. That's ridiculous. You should be held to the same standard that they are if we're gonna have these unrealistic standards, right? But that's the point. They're unrealistic. You don't need to look like the Men's Health cover model, and the girls you're going after don't need to look like swimsuit models. You need to look like real people, real jobs, and real responsibilities and real lives, but that, you know, they take care of themselves. Yeah, exactly.
I had a friend who had aspirations of like, you know, getting into bodybuilding a little bit. And I mean, he was jacked, like he was in great shape, worked out hard, had a good training plan, but his biceps, the way the inserts were, he always had this like tight little round knot in the middle.
That's me.
And it was really strong.
Yeah, that's right. Just and then it dips. Spread,
yeah. Right. And he was always so insecure about it. He's like, it doesn't matter what I do. It's like, dude, you cannot change the genetic insertions of that muscle to make that long. You can't elongate that.
Yeah. I always say I look kind of like a muscular scarecrow when I get really lean, and it could be worse, you know, like the blocky waist and stuff like that. But like I said, as I've gotten older, and body dysmorphia wreaked havoc on me for a very long time. I'd be lying if I said I still don't have a little bit of it, but that's, I think, just maybe me holding myself to a higher standard than most. But when I was younger, I'd say that a lot of my self-confidence issues and my resulting eating disorder was a result of not dealing with that body dysmorphia in a healthy way.
Well, I think any guy who actually starts like lifting and taking lifting somewhat seriously develops a kind of body dysmorphia, even if you don't want to call it that.
Yeah.
I remember, I broke my neck in 2020. I went down, I was doing a yoke walk with yoke straps because the gym I was at didn't have a yoke. So I had yoke straps on a bar, and I went down. I ended up breaking my neck. Right, I was carrying 600 pounds, fell back, landed on the bar, snapped my C5 across it. And my dad was like, "So you're done, right? You survived that by the grace of God." But I was like, "No, in a year or two, I'll be back there. It might take a year and a half, 2 years to get back up to that weight, but he's like, I've just never had the desire to pick up 600 pounds. I was like, well, that's fine. That's you don't have to have that desire. I do. He said, so what's enough? What's after 600 pounds? Is that it? Are you done there? I was like,
700, of course.
65.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, when is, and I had to really stop and think, like, when is enough? And it's this kind of body dysmorphia to a point of, it's like, what is strong enough? Well, I want to see what my maximum capacity is. Right?
Yes.
That for me, that's enough. When I hit that genetic limiting, no matter what effort I put in, I plateaued, and we're not going to make more than a half-pound jump here or there. And I definitely have gotten close to that genetically for me, right? There is just that wall where without major radical changes or maybe even some chemical help, you can only go so heavy for your body, right? Everything starts to hurt at that point.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even if you're on PEDs, they don't necessarily strengthen ligaments and joints to the point.
Right.
Sometimes you surpass your genetic potential for muscles, from muscular growth, and then the ligaments and stuff end up tearing. You see it happen all the time. So that's just another pitfall for this whole quest for unrealistic achievement, I guess.
No, I was always a big fan. I was like, okay, I took that. I think it was Aristotle who said something about if you don't live up to your genetic, if men don't push themselves to their physical potential at least once in their life, they're missing out. And that's paraphrased, of course, but it's like, I just wanted to know, like, without taking any kind of drugs, just like eating well and training hard, right? What can I get up to? And, I got to that. It's like, could I do more? I want to at least see, kind of thing, right? But we developed that, right? What's some guys, I was never, I didn't want to look like a bodybuilder. I didn't want to get bulky, right? Like that, but I wanted to be strong. So it's like, okay, do I need to put on a little more like physical size to get stronger? Yeah. So, back and forth, right? But yeah, you develop that kind of, where is that limit? Where do you want to get to if you start working out with any kind of seriousness? Just because it's like, oh man, you start feeling good, right?
It's an addiction. You do get addicted to it. It's I don't think I think everybody that started working out understands that. It's just like you get a little vein, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I want more vascularity, more size, more strength.
I used to train my best friend. She developed traps. She's like, oh my God, I have traps.
It's cool.
Right? I was like, what's the big deal? She's like, no. Like, okay, some people have genetically big arms or big. It's like, but you have to work to actually have like traps where there's actually a line from your neck to your shoulder. She was so proud. It's like this great moment in her life. She finally developed traps. It's a lot of fun. You said you dropped 100 pounds.
Yeah.
So you're up at what was it? 3 something?
310. Yeah.
How tell us that story. Because a lot of dads a lot of men right now are going, well, you're skinny.
Yeah. I wish I could say that it was the last time I lost a bunch of weight, but it wasn't. My story involves a lot of failure and a lot of setbacks. And one of those was my relationship with food. And I've always loved to work out. I think this is a common story, right? Love to. I get clients coming all the time. I love to work out, but my diet, this, my diet, that, food. Yes, I know, I understand. Fortunately, food's like 90% of your results, so we got to dial that in, and that's what takes a lot of work. But when I was a kid, I ate a lot. Now I have a sister. She has a good metabolism. I did not. We ate largely the same things. My parents, baby boomers, had no idea about nutrition, of course. Just a lot of pasta, a lot of bread with butter with the pasta, a lot of milk with the bread with butter with the pasta. And we still eat fish and a lot of home cooked meals. It wasn't a lot of fast food. And we had pizza Fridays, of course, as every 90s kid does. And we go out to eat on the weekends. And my dad, he liked to eat Oreos and he liked ice cream. And I would join him. I would just have 8 Oreos instead of 4. And when you're a parent, you have these blinders on, I think, or at least my parents did. They just see a happy kid and they don't really pay any mind to what's coming in the high school years and how brutal kids can be and how much your self-confidence, it can take a hit when you don't like what you see in the mirror. And so I kept eating, and like I said, I've always loved food. I will always love food, so don't get it twisted. But I had a lot of bad habits and a horrible relationship with food, and football did not do me any favors, because when you play offensive line in Florida, the bigger you are, the better. So there's a lot of days in between 2 days we'd go, we'd work out in the morning, go to Taco Bell, get the 10 for 10, 10. They don't do it anymore, I don't think, but it was 10 tacos for $10. Hell of a deal. Hell of a deal. So it was like a big box. We just eat that. We go back to train. And then after the second practice, I'd go and get a big gulp and like I don't even know what I would eat, like a Charleston Chew or something. I'm probably dating myself by saying Charleston. People are like, what's a Charleston Chew? And a lot of junk food. I just always eat Hot Pockets. Big Hot Pockets were huge. You guys, Hot Pockets are still around, but in the 90s, Hot Pockets were a kid's staple. Like if your parents worked out of the house, if your parents weren't home and they were working in the summer, you lived off Hot Pockets and ramen. And that's all we ate, really. So my sister stayed thin. She was just as active as I was. We always played sports, but I got up to 310 my senior year, and I was a pretty darn good football player. For my genetics, I actually, had a few Division III offers that I declined. I just didn't feel like, crushing my body for no reason. The education would have been cool, but like I said, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. So the summer after my senior year, I decided to lose the weight. And so I just got this idea in my head. I'd heard about the Atkins diet, and I got this book, and I basically did the Atkins diet for a year straight. I didn't eat sugar. I didn't eat a carb, as far as I can remember. It was a lot of Caesar salad, a lot of cheese and meat, of course, pork rinds, just disgusting, archaic, it's not a good methodology in terms of nutrition. However, it served its purpose because it allowed me to eliminate my biggest weakness at that point, and the thing that was causing me was destroying me, essentially. I was pre-diabetic, and my blood pressure was through the roof. The doctor was like, you gotta lose weight. So I was drinking a ton of regular soda. As soon as I cut that out, that was the first thing I did before I even started Atkins. I lost 20 pounds in probably 2 weeks just from the sodium and the sugar and the carbohydrates that were in my body. And then once I eliminated everything else, as far as the junk food goes, I would eat like an Atkins bar. I would have, some meat and cheese for lunch, and then a Caesar salad for dinner. I was eating very low calorie, but very high fat and high protein. So the weight just started flying off, and I'd go to the YMCA, I'd work out, and then I'd play full court basketball for an hour every day. And I lost over, like at that point, I think I cleared about 80-ish pounds. And I looked terrible, I looked skinny fat, but I was healthy. So that's all that mattered. And I didn't, once again, going back to the how versus the who, I didn't change anything about my mentality. I just programmed myself. I'm going to do this plan. I'm going to stick to it until I get to where I want to go. And it wouldn't be the last time I did this. And that was my problem for a decade plus, essentially spinning my wheels, yo-yoing up and down on my weight, because I wasn't addressing the who, I was addressing the how, and that's it. So my relationship with food never got better. And so when I went to college after that, I had my first bout with depression and binge eating disorder, and I ended up gaining like 30 or 40 pounds. But like I said, I don't want to, let's keep the happy ending where I lost almost 100 pounds. But really the happy ending is me right now, not that first step. And I just don't want people to think like, nobody figures it out right away like that. Nobody figures it out in a summer. Like, I did it. This is it. My life's forever changed. Maybe some people might, but for a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid, they have a lot of learning to do. And I definitely had a lot of learning to do.
Now, I wanted to touch base on that before we get into the next section of the show, just because I want to silence the arguments before there is an argument, right? I've met a lot of people who, unfortunately, as a podcaster, I meet a lot of people who are influencers or coaches of one sort or another. And the ones that get under my skin are and it's not it's going to sound bad, right? It's the 22-year-old life coaches.
Yep.
Who aren't even out of school yet. It's like, you haven't lived life, but they're also fitness coaches, right? It's like, you've never been fat in your life. Like, you were genetically blessed with and introduced to a healthy lifestyle early on, and now you're trying to tell people how to lose weight, but you've never been heavy and you've never understood. So I wanted to silence that right off the bat, because that bothers me. I know a lot of men are like, what do you know about being overweight? Okay. Eric's been up and down. This current state of his life is not where he's always been. He's fought weight over and over again. It wasn't a one-time thing. He's gone up and down. He's had the emotional and mental impacts of that as well. And I wanted to establish that with everybody before we move into the next part of the show, guys. Just so you know, this is a real conversation with someone who understands what it's like to yo-yo on your weight, what it's like to try and figure it out on your own, what it's like to try and put these habits into your life. Mm-hmm. Now, we've been talking about dad bods and your health and into Eric's story and background a little bit more. We're going to dive into fitness for men over 30 in the next part of our show. We're going to roll our sponsor, and we will be right back with more from Eric Koenreich. How well do you sleep at night? Do you toss and turn and wake up more tired than when you went to bed? Sleep is commonly one of the critical elements people fall short on in their life. The quality of sleep you get directly affects your ability to control your weight, your ability to add muscle, your stress levels, and your everyday job and life performance. If you're ready to move to the next level, then sleep has to be part of the plan. Check out our friends at ghostbed.com if you're ready to get your best sleep. I love my ghost bed. I've been sleeping on one for a couple of years, and it's made a huge difference in how I sleep. Hit ghostbed.com and use the code TheFallibleMan30 to get 30% off your order and start getting better night's sleep tomorrow. Now, let's go on to the show. Guys, welcome back. In the last part of the show, we were discussing dad bods and your health and getting a little more of Eric's actual background, because I think that really speaks to him being able to sync up with your life, right? I know it syncs up with my life really well. In this part of the show, we're going to dig into fitness for men over 30, because life changes, right? Your body changes. Practical experience every 5 years. I know those have been landmarks for me. It's like 20, 25, 30. Like, there are major changes I pick up about every 5 years of my body, and the way it responds to training, the way it responds to food, the way my metabolism is affected, my need for sleep. And so we're going to get into, how this can work for you. You don't have to be unhealthy. In fact, you shouldn't be unhealthy. But there's a lot to it. So getting into this, Eric, I want to start with how mental health ties into men's fitness, because I don't think a lot of people understand that.
At the risk of sounding like one of those alpha male personal development guys, I think there's a major link between your physical fitness and your mental health. I think that if you are struggling with anxiety or struggling with depression, that eating a good nutritious diet and exercising consistently will definitely improve your mental health. Now, I'm not saying, obviously this is not my wheelhouse. I've had my battles with depression, anxiety, binge eating disorder, all that stuff. And you cannot cure it with just good diet and exercise, but it's a supplement. It's a definite key to your recovery. If you really are invested in your mental health and you want to improve it and you're tired of feeling horrible all the time, one of the first steps you need to take is to take care of your physical health. There is a lot of research that shows that exercise, released endorphins, can help with depression. We know that. But also, when you see something in the mirror that you like, and your body starts to change and you start to see it develop in a positive way, it makes you feel better about yourself, which in turn has, that's a kind of a snowball effect that will help your mental health overall. And on top of that, there's been links between junk food, specifically sugar. And I can speak, and this is just purely anecdotal, I can speak from experience that my mental health improved once I removed refined sugar from my diet. I removed most processed foods outside of, protein shakes and things of that nature. But once refined sugar was removed from my diet, my mental clarity and my outlook and my just general nature changed. And obviously, it has a lot to do with dopamine and finding good sources of dopamine instead of these unhealthy sources of dopamine. And I think that when I try to relay this message to everybody, if you really want to improve your mental health, stop searching for instant gratification to make yourself feel better. Eating junk food, instant gratification; gambling, instant gratification; porn, instant gratification; spending money, instant gratification. All these things. Search for delayed gratification. It's a lot harder, but the delayed gratification stuff is so much better for you, and it'll be so much more worth it in the long run. And the best form of delayed gratification, in my opinion, is developing your body.
All right. Now, Eric, I was looking through, one of the hardest things being a podcast host is like, okay, how do I condense what should take hours of conversation, right, into enough of the conversation that it benefits my audience and helps them to know that, you could be someone they could connect with for that. So I want to break down your process a little bit as you work with men over 30. Some of the things that you mentioned let me rephrase that. Some of the things that, as I was researching for the show, that you look into with men are mindset, time management, diet strategies, and effective training methods for busy men. How do you start to structure this for your clients? Where do you start, and how does this, correlate together?
Time management is typically the first thing we talk about, because it's 90% of the time men will come to me and they'll say, I just don't have enough time. I feel short on time. I can't do this. I can't do that. And we take a look at their day, their schedule, and we really break it down. And I think that if you're listening to this right now and you find yourself saying you don't have enough time, I think if you really sat down and broke your day down hour by hour, you could either see some time sucks that are happening, some little leaks where you could get 30 minutes back, or this is my favorite fix, and it's the hardest pill for many men to swallow. You're going to have to wake up earlier and go to bed earlier too. Because if you got kids and you want to work out, a lot of times the only time you're going to have is first thing in the morning. Because by the end of the day, the last thing most of us want to do is work out. So time management's big. Mindset's the next part, along with the nutrition. I'll go back because I like to go a little more practical. We'll talk about the nutrition part first, because I have to hear what they eat. They tell me what they eat. I tell them, that's crap. Take that out. That's good. You're not eating enough protein. We need more vegetables and fruit. You're an adult. Come on, eat like it, so on and so forth. And then we kind of combine the time management part, because everybody needs an eating strategy that is sustainable. I call it a template, or eating schedule. I eat 4 meals a day. I eat them at the same time every day. And there's a couple reasons for this. Number one, that regimented structure is good for consistency. And two, keeps your blood sugar stable. I'm a big anti-snacking guy. I don't like snacking in between meals, because what happens when you snack is your blood sugar goes up. You want to eat more. Inevitably, you want to snack more. So we don't snack. We eat our meals and we keep it moving. So I figure out, like, some guys eat 3 meals a day, some guys eat 5. Just depends on what their schedule is. So we get that going. And then inevitably we have to cross the mindset part. The training parts, I don't mean to diminish my own product here, but the exercise part is the X's and O's, as I call it. And it's kind of the least important part. I love designing training programs, and you need to be doing resistance training, and you need to be doing cardio if you want to get in the best shape you can be. But that's the last part and the least important part. As long as you do it, we're good. It doesn't have to be crazy stuff. The mindset, though, is what's going to keep you in the game. And sustainability is very important to me. I want my clients to get results with me, but I want them to get results the rest of their life without me. I don't want them to need me forever. I want them to get what they get with me and either improve after we stop working together or just maintain the results because of the changes they've made to their mindset. And a lot of men have limiting beliefs. I already talked about one. I don't have enough time. You do have enough time. You just don't want to face the fact that you have to wake up an hour earlier and get it done. You just don't want to do that. So let's take our limiting beliefs and flip them on their heads. I don't have enough time. You do have enough time. It's going to suck, but you do have enough time. Let's make it happen. Let's find that time. And the limiting beliefs are, I can't do this with my current job, or I can't do this with my family obligations. You can do this. You will figure out a way to do this. But if you tell yourself, and limiting beliefs will kill any sort of progress you have, or if you have a goal in mind, whether it's physique or business, if you have limiting beliefs in your head and they're always popping up, they're going to kill you. They're just going to stop you dead in your tracks because the mind is so powerful. What's the saying? Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That's what I'm talking about. Limiting beliefs will keep you trapped. So we just got to flip them on their head, and you got to believe that you can do these things. And in the grand scope, these aren't huge changes. They're little tiny changes that add up over time. Small efforts done over extraordinary amounts of time result in extraordinary results. So that's kind of you actually really boil it down to that little 4-part process, but it's the time management, it's the mindset, it's the nutrition, it's the training, and that's it.
One of the things I found with myself and several of my clients over the years has been right in that time management. It's the stuff those instant dopamine hits that we really want to keep. Like I had a lot of television time.
Yep.
To be more productive, I had to give up. I actually audited it at one point, and it's like, man, I'm spending all my free time watching shows because I've got like 8 shows I'm trying to keep up with between getting off work and bedtime every week, and it's like just sucking all of my free time out. So I had to go back on the television shows. This is actually where my pet peeve about games comes in.
Well, since I'm a practical guy, when it comes to you can serve 2 masters there. You get an iPad, you get a phone. We got streaming. Get on that treadmill, get on that elliptical, and binge watch your shows. Do 2 hours of cardio while you're watching your shows. If you really want to, if you got the time to do it, hey man, then you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Replace the couch, guys.
That's right. We just need to move. We need to move more in general as a society. So yeah, replace the couch.
But yeah, that's where part of my bias, like tying back to the first part of our conversation, comes from. Is like, how much time did I waste playing those games because I lost control over it? I was yielding that control to how much time I wanted to be in there. It was like I wasn't doing anything for my health. I wasn't doing anything for my personal development. I wasn't doing anything professionally, like growing in any way, because I chose to do this other stuff. So that was getting rid of the video games was the first step for me. And then getting my TV watching under control and getting off the couch and moving more, right? But I look at guys' schedules so many times, like, well, I can't sleep if I don't, just veg in front of the television for an hour. Yeah, you can.
What if I told you that watching TV actually is detrimental to your sleep that close to bedtime? That blue light exposure, not cutting it off soon enough, will actually, affect your sleep. I have 2 very important protocols for my lifestyle that I try to at least encourage my clients or my followers to engage in. Number 1 is my wake up routine. I wake up first thing in the morning. I don't look at my phone. I drink water immediately. You're dehydrated when you wake up. Drink 20 ounces of water, 30 ounces. So just chug it. I had, since I'm in Florida and it's hot as hell here, I had Himalayan sea salt, pink Himalayan sea salt to my water, plus a hydration supplement because I work out in my garage and it's brutal. And so I drink a bunch of that, and it tastes good because I have the hydration supplement. It's flavored. So Ghost makes one that tastes like Red Berry Sour Patch Kids. I'm sponsored by Ghost, but I'm still a huge believer in their products. So I use other companies, but don't tell them. But Ghost they're still my favorite company. So I call it market research, whatever. And then I drink water, and I go out, let my dogs out, and I sit on my little patio and I read and I reflect. And I would love to sit out there for an hour, but that's not how my life's set up. So I block 15 minutes and I'll read some pages, and I'll sit there, and I'll go in, and then I'll take my pre-workout, and then I work out, and that's how it goes. And nighttime, same thing. My wife and I have a rule. We have an hour block when we actually get an hour. A lot of times, whether it's jujitsu or she's out of town, maybe we don't have time to sit on the couch together, but we'll sit there, we'll watch something. Maybe it's 45 minutes, depending on how tired we are. We come in, brush our teeth, shut all the lights off, except for our reading lights. AC, because of our nest, goes down to 64 degrees, which is, believe it or not, or 68 degrees, which is the optimal sleeping temperature. We did the research. We're nerds like that. And then we read for about 15 minutes. And reading, if you guys don't do it, will actually, for me, really help you sleep, really relaxes your mind. Sometimes just makes you sleepy when you're old like myself. So, and then I use a sleep mask, white noise, pitch black room, boom, that's it. And that's why I can wake up at 4 a.m. every day, ready to kill it. 9 p.m., by the way, 9 p.m. bedtime.
Yeah. So you and I are on the same schedule.
Yep.
4 and 9. I'm
That's 7 hours. That's 7 hours.
My best to be in bed at 9. I'm up at 4. But yeah, I have several similar. I do 8 ounces of water. I've found like I have a lot of sinus problems.
Mm-hmm.
I always have with allergies. So if I can drink 8 ounces of water right when I get up, if I try and chug much more of that, I end up throwing up. So
yeah, that's prohibitive. That's not what we're trying to do.
So yeah, get a little hydration started, and I'll actually add a little Himalayan sea salt to it just to help it stay. And but yeah, definitely I find a lot of people, I tell them like I go to bed at 9 and get up at 4. They're like, I could never do that.
You could. I say that I have the same conversation. I'm like, you could, if you wanted to, you could do a lot of things.
It will suck to start with. I'm not gonna lie, but
yeah, everybody that says that, I'm like, you aren't familiar with David Goggins. You need to read David Goggins' book. If you think you can't do something, I need you to read David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me. And then you will be blown away by what the human mind can motivate the human body to endure. So it's really not that hard to wake up an hour earlier.
Dude's a beast. I don't actually like to use David Goggins as reference, just because there are those people who are in that mindset.
1%. He's the 1%, man.
Hyper elite.
He's not even a rare breed. He's a one of one. There's nobody like David Goggins. But I just like to use this as an example. Like, if you really think that it's this hard, let's put it in perspective here. It's not that hard. And there's stories all throughout history of people using their minds to do amazing things with their bodies. And I just don't think, for me, it's that big of a sacrifice or that big of a challenge to sleep a little bit less so that I can nourish my body with exercise.
Eric, we gotta start landing this plane. So
let's go.
For our listeners, what are the first 3 steps? If someone hears this and it just clicks today, right? They're like, bam, wow, that really spoke to me. What are the first 3 steps that they can start right now, walking away from the show, and implement to start this journey towards a healthier version of them?
Number 1, and this is the hardest one. I'm going to start with the hardest one. You got to cut out most processed foods and refined sugars. I know this sounds extremely ironic coming from a guy who used to be a junk food blogger, but it's worked for me, and I've seen it work for my clients. I know you think you're going to have sugar cravings, but in my experience, once again, this is anecdotal, so take it with a big block of sugar, a sugar cube. When I stopped eating sugar after the detox period, because there was a detox period where I was still craving it, I stopped wanting it. I do not want sugar. Could I eat a gigantic bowl full of rice, potatoes, beans, or fruit? Of course, but these are healthy foods. And as far as I know, I haven't heard of any story people were getting fat off of eating too many bananas. Okay. It doesn't happen. Oh, I ate too many chicken breasts. Like, no, it doesn't happen like that. These foods are There's a reason these foods out there, these junk foods, are scientifically designed to make you want to eat more of them. Nobody has ever eaten one chocolate covered pretzel and been like, yeah, that's great, I'm good. It doesn't work like that. So that's number one. We got to get that out of the way. Number two, you got to move more. We are a sedentary society. A lot of our jobs are desk bound. So no matter how you can do it, whether it's just adding more cardiovascular work into your exercise program, or just parking further away from the grocery store, taking the stairs instead of the elevator. I know it sounds trivial, but all of these things add up. I have an arbitrary goal of 15,000 steps a day. Sometimes I hit it, sometimes I don't, but I always get at least 10,000. And the days I hit 15,000, I feel way better, especially when I can walk outside. And lastly, and this is one that I think everybody could benefit from. I think you should start reading more personal development books. Now, you're not going to get 100% fulfillment out of every book. You're going to have to pick and choose the lessons and the helpful nuggets that you get from these books. But once I started to read, I'm a big fiction guy, big sci-fi guy, still love it. But I started reading these books and they helped me become more introspective, and it became easier for me to reflect on the things I've done and make sure it's a bunch of different subjects, especially if you're a dad. Focus on a lot of fatherhood books. And once again, you're not going to agree with everything, but I think it's important we find different perspectives. So cut out the junk food, okay? Move more and start reading. And obviously, there's those little 3B, 3C, eat more protein, drink more water, lift some damn weights.
All right. What is next for Eric Koenreich?
What's next is fulfilling my purpose, continuing to fulfill my purpose. I have done a lot in my life. I've been a professional wrestler. I've been a bakery owner, a gym owner, a power lifter. I've done so many things. And I thought at a number of different times that I had my forever job, the bakery specifically. But now I know that this is my purpose. The fulfillment I get from helping others, the joy I get when my client hits a new low weigh-in or goes out to eat and doesn't eat the nachos for the appetizer and the burger for the entree, that's such a huge W. And I feel like I'm winning. And it's kind of an extension in weird. This is going to be a little weird, but unless you've been a mentor or a leader, you can't really understand. It's like your kids. When you're kids, it's like you hit a home run. You feel amazing. It's indescribable. And when your clients are able to change their lives and their outlooks and their bodies, and their whole mindset, it is an incredible feeling because yes, they did it, but you played an important role, a pivotal role in their development. And I just want to continue to do that. And I am so grateful that I've been put in this position where men come to me and ask me to lead them and ask me to mentor them and help them change their lives, because it is what I was put on this planet to do.
Where's the best place for people to connect with you?
You can find me. Oh, here we go. I got to say my name again. Do not try to spell it out, y'all. I'm gonna spell it out for you. It's Eric the standard way. ERIC. Bear with me. ERIC. Koenreich. Thank you. Pop it up on the screen there because nobody's going to remember that. So that's my name, my legal name, government name, Eric Koenreich. You can find me on Instagram, Eric Koenreich, Threads at Eric Koenreich. I'm not calling it X, Twitter at Eric Koenreich, and Facebook too. So that there was a reason I switched from Tired Dad Fitness Club to this. I just felt like it was more important that I was the guy, I was the brand, and I don't want to be the guy behind the brand. So yeah, Eric Koenreich is the men's fitness and mindset coach, among many other things, as we've talked about.
And of course, we'll have all those links, guys, in the show notes, in the description, whatever platform you're enjoying the show on, whether you're on YouTube or on an audio platform. Now, I know the most important question on the show that everybody's waiting for is, what is the most useful die in a game of D&D? You guessed D4. The actual answer is a D20.
See, I thought it was a trick question. I was like, I'll pick the highest one. No, pick the lowest one.
If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, these are all different die that are applicable in the game of D&D, and I'm sure they have uses somewhere else. But if you've never played, you've probably never seen these die. They are interesting to say the least. But I know you're all worried about that, right? That's the important. No, it's not.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
gonna
yeah,
have
I'm worried. I feel less than today because I really thought I was going to get a layup. I thought I was going to get something Star Wars. Maybe that's not. Star Wars is one of my favorites. I love Aliens and Predator. I got a huge leg piece of those guys. My tattoos. But yeah, I'm a sci-fi guy. I'm a sci-fi nerd. So when you hit me with the fantasy, I mean, I've seen Lord of the Rings. I
I
love
just
them,
went the
but
wrong direction with the nerd question. Sorry.
it's okay. That's what I tell people all the time. They're like, "Oh, you watch did you watch the new Lord of the Rings miniseries or Netflix show?" I'm like, or whatever it was on. I go, "No, I'm not that kind of nerd." They go, "What does that mean?" I'm like, "No, there's different genres of nerd. I'm just not a fantasy nerd."
Right? People just, unless you are one, you don't know, right? Some people are
Yeah.
gaming nerds, some people are fantasy, some people are sci-fi.
Yeah,
Just having friends.
I'm like an alien mech nerd, like not a
Okay.
dragon wizard nerd.
Oh,
There's
okay.
it's different. You know what I'm saying? Different kinds
Oh
of
yeah,
nerds.
yeah. I played Mech Warrior for a while, so I
Big
love that.
robots are cool, man. It's timeless.
Exactly. Pacific Rim, one of the greatest movies ever. Why? Giant monsters, giant robots fighting.
Once again, another great part of parenting is you get to watch a lot of amazing movies, and it feels like you're watching them for the first time because you get to watch them with your kids. And so I'm also a big horror movie buff, so I eagerly anticipate traumatizing my son with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the OG.
Now, Eric, I want you to take us out. If people listening to this hear only one thing today, what do you want them to take away from the show?
This is my message to men of advanced age. You do not have to accept mediocrity. You did not peak in high school, and your best years sure as hell are not behind you.
Guys, with Eric, Koenreich, and myself, thanks for joining us on the show today. Be better tomorrow because of what you do today, and we'll see you on the next one.
This has been the Fallible Man Podcast, your home for everything man, husband, and father. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a show. Head over to www.thefallibleman.com for more content and get your own Fallible Man gear.